Hey folks, Tanya here, founder of Hustle Muscle Fitness and owner of this page. It's time for HMF Live. As you who have been following know, I try to do this every Tuesday night at 6:30. Those of you who are new to this page, welcome, and thanks for checking it out. Thanks for liking the page, following along. I will say normally I start off a little bit more I guess a little bit more bubbly than this. I don't know if bubbly is the right word. Maybe a little more upbeat. There we go. But I feel like, I'm kind of closing these so I'm not distracted. I feel like I need to keep this, I try to anyway, in all my posts, I try to keep things completely real and authentic and not try to put up any kind of front, because that's just not really who I am. Although sometimes you might get a more, I don't even know if polished is the word, just a more surface level view of my life. There are some things that I've shared in depth, and there's some things that I haven't. And I think I firmly believe, even as hard as it is for me, I firmly believe that the really hard parts to talk about in your life are probably the ones that need to be shared the most, because there are other people out there who are probably going through the same thing and need to know that other people out there are struggling with those same challenges too. So that's kind of what tonight's show tonight. Normally I try to give you guys like, here's some fitness tips, here's some health tips, that kind of stuff. Tonight I'm just kind of taking it down a couple of levels. And actually, the ironic thing is that today I started out the day pretty upbeat, pretty positive. If you saw the post on my personal page, which some of you are also there as well, I was feeling inspired, and that hasn't gone away. But sometimes, the light gets dimmed a little bit. But so I've been doing actually really well with the workouts, and even my nutrition has gotten better. So I'm happy there. But I don't want you to think that I have been giving you any kind of false sense of progress. This is mostly pertaining to stuff with Gary and I. So to give those that are new some context, in the past few months, I might have even started talking about this at the end of last year. I don't even remember. But anyway, so the past few months, the start of this year, I shared with you all that Gary and I have been going through a lot of struggles with our marriage, and that we were starting therapy. So what happened was Gary was able to get started on his therapy, and I think that's going pretty well, and it's definitely made some positive changes in our relationship. We were able to do one counseling session, like couple marriage session. Unfortunately, because that's out of pocket, that's a lot more expensive and a lot harder to do. And then, as many of you know, we recently moved, so it was all of our extra finances were sort of going into that. And so unfortunately, even though we're trying to practice some of the things that we got from that first session, we haven't been able to continue the marriage counseling. As for my personal therapy, that got put on hold as well because of insurance, because there were certain things, when they asked me certain questions, it basically was like, well, that's life coaching and insurance doesn't cover that. So and I was trying to wait until we could do out of pocket for that too, because that's also expensive. And unfortunately, with buying a new house, moving, settling, we just haven't been able to do it. So, however, there's been some progress on my end. I called today, and I will say, just even though things have gotten better, there's still a lot of issues that Gary and I are still working through when it comes to finances is a big one. And for those of you who don't know, Gary suffers from chronic pain because he's had multiple injuries over the years. And we've shared both together on this page. He's had an issue years past. He's had an issue with narcotics, prescription painkillers. And every once in a while, that still rears its ugly head more often than I like. And I sometimes feel, trying not to get emotional, I sometimes feel hypocritical about being a health and fitness coach and having these issues going on in the background. Not because I know that I'm perfect. Good God, no. But because, we deal with his health issues and there are some very unhealthy habits there. And I know for me, I have a problem with enabling, which that might become more of a surprise. Sorry, I hate the way I sound when I'm trying not to cry and talking. Because I am a pretty strong-willed person, like in all other aspects of my life, but man, I think everybody has probably that one person that kind of knows how to get under your skin and kind of, not make you do things you don't want to do, but can get you to, even agree to things that you wouldn't normally do, like with any other person on this planet. And usually that's your spouse, your partner. So that is definitely for Gary. That is Gary for me. And I think probably me for him too. But, so some of the ongoing issues that we've been having have taken a toll definitely on me. Sorry, I'm trying to recompose myself. Have definitely taken a toll on me, and which is probably why I've dug deeper into my fitness, because that's sort of been my stress relief, my like mental health or therapy or whatever, because I haven't been able to actually get into therapy. So I know that there are issues that I definitely need to work on my own, and I'm not at all trying to like lay all of this on Gary, but I have to, like I said, I have to keep this real with you guys, that, I try really hard to come on here and always be motivating for you or be inspiring for you. And it's not that I'm being fake about it. I don't want you to get that or mistake that either. Sometimes I force myself to do it so that I do feel better. And it works most of the time. And whenever you guys share your stories with me or share little victories that you've had, that inspires me too, and that makes me feel a lot better too. Not just, like I'm in a pity party thing all the time, but I do know that the last few months, I think I've probably, even though it's undiagnosed, it's kind of my own thought, but I'm sure that I'm suffering from more anxiety than I probably ever have, aside from maybe my grad school years, and maybe even bouts of depression without really even knowing it. But I've always been like that workaholic, a workhorse, whenever something has ever been wrong in my life, or has something bad has happened in my life, like, loss of my grandparents, for instance, while I was in college. I dove into work, and college and homework and school and all that. I wish could say my grades showed that, but they didn't. So for me, that's how I try to cope, I guess, with that stress or that anxiety, is just by working. And kind of ironically, that time that it takes for me to do more work, whether it's here or whether it's actually at work, probably adds more strain to our relationship, so you can kind of see the continuous cycle. So I wanted to be real with you guys about it, because I want you to know that, one, I'm this probably isn't any kind of earth-shattering news to you, but I'm not perfect. But I want you to know that in spite of going through some pretty major obstacles over the past, probably 8 months, because it started before the start of the year, but the last 8 to 10 months probably, I still do my best to show up here every day, every week. Maybe some days I show up better than others. And I also show up, for myself, like especially with my workouts, because that is, if I can't get into therapy anytime soon, I know I can at least do my body chemically do my body some good by taking care of that there. And I can keep from compounding on the problem by trying to feed my body well. And I struggled there too. I'm the first to admit that I'm definitely a stress eater, an emotional eater. And I tell you, if we had more junk food in the house, I would probably be in some serious trouble right now. But luckily we don't really have that much And if we do, Gary takes care of it before I can get to it. So, but this is definitely a pain point for me. The problems that I know I have that I need to work on, and I'm hoping now with insurance and stuff that will be more of a possibility. But also, even though we are making huge progress in our relationship, we still have a long way to go. And there's some things about our struggles that, besides the anxiety, create a lot of fears in me about like whether or not I, should be here doing this business, whether or not I should be trying to coach, whether or not I should try to help others. And I think in doing that, like trying to cover that, I guess, not let that really show. One, I'm not being completely real with all of you, which I apologize, because I really try to be as real and authentic on here as I can. But I think it probably seeps through more than I realize, because when I talk to folks that, like especially people on the team that I see that have a lot of potential to help others the way that I try to, they have a lot of fear too, because they're a lot like me. Fear of time and losing time with family, or not being able to do a very good job, or this or that or whatever. And I think my fears, even though I'm trying to hide them, are still seeping through. Maybe they're picking up on that. And that, I think, could be a big reason why certain things in Hustle to Muscle Fitness haven't been working quite right, or haven't been growing quite right. So although I can't go into all of the details, because I will say part of that is Gary's story. It's not mine to tell. What I can share is the stuff on my end, and I know that I have faults. I just, like when I talk to many of you, and it's okay to ask for help when it comes to your health and fitness. That's what I'm trying to do with my mental health, is trying to ask for help and get that help so I can get the tools and the support, a coach essentially, to help me get through some of these things and do more on my part. And I will say that in the meantime, that Gary's been doing all of this great work, and even us doing our marriage session. It's not like I haven't been doing anything, like sitting here, like watching all this happen. That's not been the case at all. For me, I've been trying to dive into like personal development on things like triggers and communication and stuff like that. And that has helped too. It makes me really slow down before I just like react badly, poorly, ineffectively. But it's still not quite the level of help or support that I feel like I need. So I just, it's been one of those today, this afternoon, I should say, it's just been one of those days, and I'm sure maybe some of you can even relate, where you just kind of feel like you're on the verge of tears, like all day or all afternoon or whatever, and maybe you know why, and maybe you don't know why, but you just feel like if you thought about whatever it was that was bothering you for even longer than 2 seconds, you might start crying. And if you're like me, you're sitting at work like, okay, you can't be crying at work, you need to focus. And that was just kind of my afternoon. So I think definitely there's anxiety there. I think maybe slipped into maybe a bout of depression even, because I know my sleep has kind of taken a hit. And that's certainly not me. If you ask anybody in my family, we are sleepers. And I haven't gotten great sleep lately. And, I'm not always focused at work. And I'm not even always focused here. I try really hard. I sit down and I make myself do certain things. But there's still another level there that I know I'm not hitting. And I know that's because I'm pretty distracted or twisted up, I guess. And so I'm not coming on here to have a pity party. And I'm not coming on here to get to get any kind of sympathy. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm coming on here, one, because I feel the need to be honest with all of you completely, not just surface level stuff. Everything I've shared on this page to this date is completely true, completely real in me and how I do things. But I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I haven't really there are probably more layers that I need to dig into. So that way you guys know that this is always a journey. You never have everything figured out. Life is always going to throw more stuff at you, and that's That's where it's at. So, and you know me, probably by watching a lot of these videos, even when I've gotten somewhat personal, I'm not one to get emotional about it, but that's kind of the day that I've had today, or the last few days, just kind of feeling like on the verge of certain things, certain emotions, and what I can say is that for those of you who have either a partner or even a parent that have suffered, maybe they're permanently disabled like Gary is, or have suffered or suffering from chronic pain and stuff like that, you probably know that their pain can be very consuming. And it doesn't just consume them, it consumes you, consumes your life. And that's the other part that I'm having trouble with, is our marriage counselor, when we had the one session, she told us that we needed to stop treating the pain as a third person in our marriage, which absolutely makes sense, but so much harder to actually do in real life application. And so and then this is the other part of it, is the guilt. I try not to disregard, like Gary's pain, because I'm not, I know it's there. I see him suffer with it, but there's a part too that wants to have that line drawn. Like, when do we get to try and enjoy anything? Like we used to live in Bellingham, which is on the western side of Washington, for those of you who are out of state. And it rains there more than Seattle. So we used to say, if you don't do stuff in Bellingham in the rain, you never do stuff. And so we kind of, said the same thing about Gary's pain, but it seems like that has become less and less. And it's more about the pain and less about our life. And so, but there's a lot of guilt there for me, and probably for him, I don't know. That, you want to just say, come on, can't you just push through it so we can, go and do this, or not do this, or try this, or go hang out here, or whatever. And, I will say, I've done an episode before on people with permanent disabilities, chronic pain, the injuries that you can't see. And so there's a lot that people who don't know what that's like, they don't see it, they don't know what the inside is like. And while I don't know the level of pain that he's in from a personal experience, I see it from my perspective, and I live through a lot of the things with him and struggle with him in a lot of different ways. So I feel like I'm rambling. Anyway, the point of this episode, which I don't know, maybe it's really not that helpful for you, maybe this is a little bit more therapeutic for me, but is to just kind of lay it almost all of it out there. Like I said, some of this is Gary's story, and I don't want to tell that for him, but I just want you to know that us health and fitness coaches don't always have all of our shit figured out, and don't always have it together, but we keep showing up. It's not fake it till we make it. Sometimes it's just push through and do the best that you can with the cards that you've been dealt. And that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing. And, we do still have a lot of good things happening and a lot of growth happening. But every once in a while, you take that step or two back, and sometimes it can feel pretty devastating. So I'm not necessarily devastated, but it's just taken a toll emotionally, mentally, there's days where I'm just exhausted. So anyway, that's what tonight's episode is about. I feel like I'm probably right around the 20-minute mark. Yeah. So I want to wrap this up, but anyway, I hope this gives you a little bit of insight to my world and to, things that I have going on as well. And it's not to take away from any of your experience, your journey. I am still more than willing to be here and help. And if nothing else, maybe you can relate to some of what I've shared tonight and know that you are not in this journey alone, and some of your experiences are not unique to you, that we are all in this together. And the best thing that we can do is try to help one another through those kinds of things. So thanks for watching. Bearing with me. I'm not usually the one who gets emotional on videos, but I guess everyone's due for at least one, right? So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys all again soon. I need to go take care of those guys. And you guys are awesome. I love all of you, and I am so thankful that you're here, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Have a great night, and we'll talk soon.